Like, yeah, you might go viral if you do the exact same thing, like you replicate the exact same content, but just with your own loop. But you will definitely see like substantially more success if you take what you like about that content and then you make it your own. This is probably like one thing that I didn't think about when I started. I definitely would sit down and like actually make a plan of where I want to go, what I want my content to be, because like if you don't do that, you run into roadblocks along the way of like, okay, I've been doing this and this worked for this reason, but it's not translating from where I want to go to.
Yo, what's up guys? In today's video, we have my interview with my guy Riley Beats. He's a producer with over 140,000 subscribers on YouTube and millions of views. So we talk about everything content creation, both long form and short form. We share a lot of gems about making content and selling kits specifically. So if you guys find this video valuable, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below and let me know who I should bring on next. How did you start making music? Like how'd you get into making beats and just producing in general, this thing that we do?
Well, I feel like you might remember the story. I don't even know if you remember the songs I've showed you, but I started out by rapping back in like, I don't know, like 2017 or something like that. I was terrible at it. Beats were like $20 and I was broke. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how to make my own beats. I was even worse at making beats than rapping. I rapped on a few like beats I made that were not good. I kind of just quit music for like a year, but still had FL Studio or like a couple years. And then like during COVID, I kind of started getting more into producing and I just started taking it seriously at that point and then kind of just kept growing from there.
Yeah, rapper turned producer is definitely a pretty common producer, what's that, identity arc, but rapper turned content creator isn't as heard of. So like, how did that come? Like, how did you start getting into that space?
It was all accidental, to be honest with you. Like someone had told me that like you should put more, like you should post shorts, you should post TikToks. I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. So I like posted a few. They never really got anything. I stopped doing it for a while. And then I started just like posting one. Like I just posted one, blew up. It started getting a ton of traction. And I was like, hey, like this is some kind of momentum. Like I don't want this to just die down. I'm going to keep pushing this. So I just kept posting more and they just kept gaining the same kind of traction, kept going from there. And that just slowly turned into me posting every single day.
And how long have you been posting every single day? Because I feel like I've been seeing you daily for years now, maybe.
I don't know the exact number, like how long it's been. I know I've been posting for like 2 years roughly. And it started almost daily, like it was like 5 times a week or just like whenever I felt like, which was almost every day because it took like no time to record. So I think maybe 2 years, but if I had to be truthful, at least a year and a half.
Damn, that's crazy. Because I've always thought about that too. Like we already know each other, but as like kind of creator, I've always like, damn, like he's so fucking consistent. How? You know, because I know you got other things going on outside of producing, you know, so do you have any gems you could share there? Because I want to know myself, you know?
Yeah, no, this is kind of something I'm really like, I'm nice with recently. Like, I don't even know if I'm wording this correctly, but just sometimes I'll find like I start going into these slumps where like I'm just like making stuff and I'm like, I don't really like what I'm making, but you know, like I have to make content from it anyways. And from this last slump, I kind of like sat down and I was like, I'm not really enjoying what I'm making. I'm not enjoying creating this content either. Like there's no point for me doing it because I'm gaining nothing from this other than like clicks, numbers, digital stuff, doesn't matter. So I kind of like sat down and I was like, I should be making this for me, because that's kind of how it all started. It started off as like I'm making shorts, but like the idea behind those shorts was just like useful information that I would have appreciated when I started learning to produce. So that same kind of thing, like I'm making it for me, and that's where I'm seeing the most come from it. And I know you've told me like you grinded out the YouTube type beat game. You had some success with that for sure, but you burned out, you know, and you probably felt kind of similar at some point that you weren't doing it for you, but you were doing it to please this digital algorithm, you know. And it's just like, I haven't been doing it for very long, but once you do it for yourself, it just feels so much different.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like what you said there, I feel like a lot of other like producers and creators would burn out and that'd be like a quitting point, you know? So how do you get through that and just continue on as if that internal turmoil isn't even going on to your audience, you know?
I think one, I'm stubborn as hell. Number two, like I feel like I've made so much progress that if I just quit, then what would be the point? Like 2 years of my time has been invested, and it's not like I haven't reached my end goal. I haven't come close yet. You know what I mean? Like, but I've made substantial progress, and I'm afraid of losing that.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. It doesn't even feel like it. That's crazy to think
Yeah.
about. But do you feel like you've kept up that same momentum the whole time?
Oh yeah, I feel like I've actually like, at least right now, I feel like I've increased it a little bit because like I know I'm doing like the daily shorts. I'm doing 2 videos a week. I do the streams. Like I'm doing more than what I started out with, and then there's also like things going on behind the scenes. I know you know, but nobody else knows like what's going on behind the scenes, and what I'm involved in, other than the people who are also involved in those things. So I think overall momentum may not seem from the outside like it's increased, but yeah, it's definitely like more is going on for sure.
Yeah. I feel like momentum in having like a YouTube channel, whether it's producer content or not, just this is like a YouTube social media type thing. But momentum is kind of like that unmeasurable metric that you kind of just feel versus you can't really tell. Because I say that because when I think of like my channel, when I was posting type beats heavy and going hard, I could definitely feel when the momentum dropped. And that was when, I started being less consistent because I like started losing the passion for it. But I
Hmm.
feel like that's like a thing that you don't really hear too many people talk about and go into, because it's kind of like you just kind of feel it out, and like in the moment, like you feel it when you have it, whether you know it or not. But then once you start to lose that momentum, you start to feel like, oh wait, something's changed, and now I upload and the views aren't there, or the engagement's not there for whatever reason.
Yeah, or like even like you'll just receive a completely unexpected or like different kind of response from people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's a lot easier to keep the momentum when you start to delegate certain tasks out, because you kind of have a little bit of a team with you, right? With your content.
Yeah, I do feel it to some degree. Like I'm personally someone who doesn't really like delegating. I don't love like sharing the workload a ton, but like I understand like there's no way that I could be doing everything I'm doing by myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, 100%. Like delegating those things out, kind of having other people involved is huge for those things. Like I know even their knowledge too. Like you're a great example of this. Like you're very very smart with like WordPress, for example. I have no clue half the things you do in it. I'm lost. I'm confused. You know what I mean? But it's like when you branch out, bring other people in, they don't just bring in someone who can do work for you. They bring in their own unique set of skills. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And how did you go about like developing that? Like, how do you find people to delegate to? Because I mean, I know a little bit how about that, but I kind of feel like where a lot of content creators come, like they make a certain amount of progress and they get to the point where it's like, okay, like I got to start handing off like the editing or whatever tasks are. And it's like
Mhm.
they can either find someone good for that in one way or another, or not, and then end up burning out. So it's kind of like a pivotal moment for like a content creator to start doing that. So it's like, how did you kind of find your team and hand out different things for, like, I know you have an editor and stuff like that, and what advice can you give to creators to kind of tap into their own networks to be able to do the same?
Yeah, so like I know for me, one thing that I find is really important is like I'm not just trying to have someone like I'm like, okay, here's your paycheck kind of thing. It's more of like I'm trying to have whoever I'm working with be involved. Like with preset supply, you get the same amount of money I get. Faded gets the same amount of money. Like everyone's getting the same amount. We're all reaping the same benefits, so like we all have the same incentive to work. And the same goes with editing. Like I split all the money I make from any YouTube stuff, sponsorships, etc., entirely with Faded, who is my editor. Shout out to him. So it's like that same incentive. And I know like him and I will go back and forth sometimes, kind of like breaking down videos of what went well, what went wrong, because at the end of the day it's like if he does a good job editing and I do a bad job with the video, I'm holding him back, and vice versa. So it's like we're on the same page. And I think that's kind of leads into the next point of like finding the people to work with. For me, it's super important to have people you trust, like people that you can have open communication with, and those kinds of things like build that relationship. They build like a channel of feedback even, you know what I mean? Like not having a yes man, but instead having someone be like, hey, this video sucks ass, let's re-record it. You know, like I know Faded, he's messaged me sometimes, he's like, hey, I've noticed like your energy in the videos has dropped down a little bit, it's had this effect on the analytics, fix that. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, that's, thank you, you know, like you're calling me on my bullshit.
He's like, smile or something. Damn.
Yeah, I don't like smiling in videos.
Hey, what's up? I hope you guys have been enjoying this interview with Riley so far. I just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be hosting a live Q&A session with Riley this coming Saturday, April 13th. Leaders is our new community that's basically a complete hub for everything about turning your music side hustle into a full-on sustainable business. And one of the features about this community is the exclusive workshops and live events just like this, where we bring on different experts and leaders from the producer community. So if this sounds interesting to you, make sure you click the link down below in the description so you can learn about how to get into leaders and watch this exclusive event. No, that's a good way to look at it. I know it for sure, but let's just get back into like, how did you meet Faded and how did that relationship form to he became your editor?
Well, this is like, it's so dumb, but I've met you, I've met Faded, like most people involved, I've met through content. Like Faded goes way back before I had any traction. I was just like streaming on YouTube. I would do the beat review streams before I had any clout. And Faded hopped into one. There was like me and one other person in the stream. Faded joined in and he was like, hey, like check out my beat. And it was like this crazy south side lo-fi beat, weird combination, but it was crazy. And I was like, hey, you have to tell me how you made this beat, right? And then from there, we just kind of kept talking.
So yeah, pretty organic.
Yeah, and similar thing happened with you and me. Like, I'm sure you remember, but it just kind of came through YouTube comments and turned into like Instagram DMs and turned into like, you know, it just kept building.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, 'cause I remember before, like I would just watch your content, you know? This was when shorts were newer too, and they weren't being as pushed hard, but like you were regularly like showing up in my feed and my algorithms, you know? And I feel like that's kind of, you were able to tap into that growth from shorts and be able to kind of branch out as a producer, you know? Like I don't want to speak for you necessarily, but since I kind of already know, like your content is probably the biggest way that you've grown as a producer, right?
100%. Like I feel like so many different ways. Like it's been a learning experience for me as a producer. I've definitely learned to make better beats simply based on like, not entirely, but played a big role, like getting feedback in comments, whether it's hate or just like someone being genuinely like constructive. And then like also the connections of people I've got into touch with simply based off of the content. Like Bad Gang Beats, I feel like is a crazy example to me, because he like same year I get connected with him, he has like a song on the Spider-Verse movie, wins like a Grammy or something. I don't know if it, or nominated for one, whatever. It's crazy the people you can connect to online. And when you have a platform, your visibility is just so much more.
Yeah, definitely. It's like being a content creator as a producer is probably one of the most, I guess, lucrative ways you can spend your time and energy as a producer if you're trying to grow and get some exposure on yourself. Just because it's like, I guess the traditional and easier way would be start a typey channel to get your beats out there, get your music heard and all that. And that has let's say that has a certain success rate because of like how many typey channels there are, how many people are out there just fucking cranking out mid beats daily to feed the algorithm. That's its own grind, but there's way less producers doing that for content. And I feel like now we're kind of probably in like the golden age of like becoming a content creator, especially as a producer, because we're in the golden age of becoming a content creator in general, because now the world post-COVID just kind of picked up like, hey, this is like a realistic thing that can be done as a creator, as a business, you know, like it's not like when I was a kid or a teenager when I was first watching YouTube and I was like, yeah, like you can't be a YouTuber. Like, how are you going to make money? You know, the whole landscape has changed and shifted. So that's probably like one of the best things you could do as a producer nowadays to tap into that content creation bag to make things happen, whether you want to sell kits or just be a producer in the industry. Like there's so many examples of all kinds of content creators like you, other guys that are like making these videos, generating and forming these audiences for different things. You know, like me and you, we sell kits, we have a website like that. We have other future plans for that. I've seen other guys like Ellis Lost go crazy with going further into the industry through their content, selling kits, stuff like that. You know who Sage Audio is?
No.
It's a YouTube channel. Like they have like 100 something K subs, but they make like mixing content, you know, for like audio engineers. And they turned that into kind of like a community to where it's like mixing courses, and you get like songs mastered monthly for a certain amount for free or whatever. But it's just like the opportunities are endless when you become a content creator as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's like something a lot of people should be tapping into now, if that's like ultimate exposure is the goal. Do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think too, like it's such an easy thing, because what you're doing as a producer is you are making a beat. That's content. You know what I mean? Like, what's that one dude's name? Florency or whatever. He's gotten placements just off of having videos of his DAW playing, pretty much. Like RJ Passon, he's gotten placements off of just making loops and then posting them, like just with him pretending to play the guitar. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you don't even have to do all that much anymore. It's just you're creating the content already in your beats. You just got to post it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, you don't got to go like full tutorial mode or Kyle Beats mode to be a content creator. Like you said, RJ Passon is like a perfect example of like another way producer. I've noticed producers coming up within the last couple of years is off their like viral sounds.
You know, I think this is so funny. Like, I followed RJ before he started doing the guitar videos.
Yeah.
And what he would do, and I don't think many people remember this, but what he would do is he would make like rage baiting content. Like, he would just be like, oh, if you use loops, you should just delete yourself or something like that. Like, he would post the most vile, controversial takes ever just to get like a reaction out of people. And it was, you could tell, but like there were people who couldn't, and it would build up like a little bit of traction for him. I don't know when he pivoted into the guitar stuff, but I'm glad he did.
That's crazy. Like, you saw like the evolution in real time.
Yeah. It was like one day he pops up on my For You page with like him playing guitar, and I was like, oh my God, it's really good. But what happened to the guy that was just telling me I'm an asshole for using a loop or whatever?
That dude's probably pissed at you for revealing his dark past. He's like, yeah, I tried to erase all that, bro. What the fuck? Over here airing me out.
Yeah.
No, but
he's trying to hide it.
Yeah, like that fucking, his loop went crazy viral, and it's just a loop. Like, you know who Skizzy is?
Nah.
He's another producer. He's got like songs with Tekka and artists like that. He has another audio where I would hear it like just on like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all that kind of stuff as an audio just trending for like a long ass time. And I didn't even realize it was his for like probably at least a year, maybe. I don't know if it's been that long, but a long time, longer than I should have before, without knowing that it's him that made it. And it's almost like a method that literally any loop maker can take advantage of, because that's a common thing, you know, like sending your loops out to your email list, like doing your dailies, your weeklies and all that. Literally every loop maker that does that can do what RJ Passon or Skizzy or any other producer doing with their content and their loops. They can do the same thing and potentially, you know, pop off in a way that's 100 million times more effective than just them sending them to their email list. Because you're going to be making those loops either way. All you got to do is just film it. Like, not even like real time. You could just, if it's a keyboard loop, just play it with the keyboard as accurately as you can, or finger tap the drums, whatever the melody. If it's guitar, like record it. It's like just a little extra step to do on top of you sending to your email list that could blow up and go viral more than you could ever imagine. And I just think that's a really interesting thing that I've noticed from that space, you know?
I think though, like one like super important thing to just like keep in mind is like, yeah, you might go viral if you do the exact same thing. Like you replicate the exact same content but just with your own loop, but you will definitely see like substantially more success if you take what you like about that formula, what you like about that content, and then you make it your own. So I think like another really good example is like Tumphy. You know, I don't know if you've seen his short form content, but it's he's
been killing it.
He's doing the same thing just in a different way, you know, and it's like he jumped up like right when I started seeing his videos, he was popping off immediately just because it's the same thing, just presented in a unique and interesting way that wasn't being done before.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the same thing. It's kind of like how other people have said, like repurposing content. Like say you make a beat that you post on your type beat channel, but you made the loop. Then it's like you take that, you posted your beat on your type beat channel, you can take that loop out, send it, and then you can make content with it in a unique way that you can have like your own style with it. And now you're hitting it at three different ways, or you're putting your music out there in like three different ways. You got the type beat channel, or the type beat that's getting its own views. You send that out. I could make a loop, send it to you, and you could do whatever with it, like post it on your type beat channel, make a video with it. Like that loop can turn into a real piece of music in a million different ways through that. And then if it lived on its own in its own content, that has infinite possibilities too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like something I've been noticing, especially with platforms like Instagram adding in these collaborative tools, is like we already collaborate on beats as producers. So I'm starting to see more and more people collaborating on content as well. Even just like if it's like short form content, one person will be like, here's how I made the loop. The other person will be like, here's how I made the drums. You know what I mean? Or they'll show different sides of the same thing, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Collaboration in general is always just a really good way to level up, whether you're just like trying to make better beats as a producer or make better content as a content creator. Even like as just working in the industry, networking and all that is like kind of like how you like, I don't want to like oh, it's like steps and levels or whatever, but it's like it's how you advance your career. It's like you meet so and so who introduces you to someone else who is Drake's cousin or some shit, you know?
Yeah.
Who's you know, who's their cousin is Drake. Their cousin knows Drake's barber, and now you can send your beats to this dude's cousin who's yeah, and then Drake's barber is gonna play your beats, and that's how you get on. You know?
Exactly. That's actually happened for sure, I think.
I wouldn't say it wouldn't, but no. I mean, I feel like people talk about, oh, everything's so saturated, the market's saturated, there's so many type beat or so many content creators out there, everything's too saturated, like it's not worth doing anything nowadays. But I feel like once you just do things like how you said, like with your own style, you find what works, you find a format that you can replicate in your own unique way, which is possible for everybody, you know, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but just your own unique spin that makes it yours. And that's kind of how you just break through that saturation, like, and just break through that noise. Because we were talking about this in leaders earlier before I hopped off, because Robin was talking about like saturation and how it doesn't exist. But it's kind of just like being able to break through that noise and get like that initial exposure is kind of almost the initial hurdle to where you got to develop the style to do that. But I guess why I want to go for that is because you had said originally when you first started posting, like it kind of just popped off from the like off rip, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of a unique way to start, because how do you think that would have evolved or that would have changed differently if it wasn't like that?
I do think so. Yeah, probably not in the same way. Like, if content never popped off, I don't think like I would have ever really had like the same kind of situation or setup or anything like that. But like at the same time, like I was seeing some build in momentum with beat selling, and just like actually like producing. Like I was starting to get like no major placements, nothing big at the time, but I was starting to get some traction with artists. I was starting to get some sales. So like around the same time, like I had other things going on that I think I probably would have invested more time into if the content never really took off or went anywhere.
Yeah, I figured so too. I think another thing I wanted to touch on real quick was we brought up like delegation, and you know, that being a little bit of like kind of not like a key to your success, but you know, definitely probably help play a part, especially since you have been able to be so consistent for like almost 2 years. But I guess to kind of get value for people who want to learn and be a content creator like of your caliber, you know, what other things do you think that you did that led you to be able to grow your channel so big and, you know, be able to expand to sell kits? And, you know, you drop kits that have like made thousands of dollars, you know, in initial sales periods. You know, it's like, what other things do you think you did that were able to put you in that position?
Yeah, I think like off the top of my head, one of the biggest things for me for sure has been adapting myself and adapting my content. You probably remember like how my my initial content looked. It was me recording my screen on a phone that I was holding. You know what I mean? Like that's like the worst possible quality. And now like I have like a 4K camera, like all my videos are 4K. Like it's adapting yourself to kind of fit the market and what's going on. Like, yeah, you still got to be true to yourself, but you gotta build, and as more people start getting in there with higher quality content, you also need to start like matching that and building with your audience. You know what I mean? Like, it would be crazy if I had like 100,000 subscribers and every video was just like some bootleg video of me recording my screen, you know?
That makes sense. I feel like my adaptability has kind of like helped me a lot too, because I'm pretty adaptable, like as a person and musician like that. But when it comes to being flexible like that, how do you kind of determine what new things to try and what's working versus not working?
So I feel like this is like a two-part question, I guess. But when it comes to like what kinds of things to try, like it's good to like look around, see what everyone else is doing, what's going on, and you don't necessarily need to try exactly what other people are doing, but you need to like understand why they're doing those things. So I know I mentioned Florency before. His videos were great. His videos are great because there's an engaging component when he's playing the beat, you know. In all of my short form videos, I play the beat. So something like I've tried doing or I've experimented with recently is making that part a little more engaging. And you can judge the success of it simply off of the analytics, or like even like we mentioned before, like that feel of momentum. And just like one of my favorite ways is with the content, seeing how people engage with it. If they engage in a way that maybe is like indirectly asking for more of that kind of content. So I'm using my short from Monday as an example because I feel like it's just a good recent example I have. But like I said, the start of the video was like me reading a comment just being like, hey, make a sad melody in C major. Got a bunch of comments on that same video being like, hey, make a sad melody in E flat minor or something like that, you know? And it's just more people, like they're saying indirectly that they want more of that exact same thing, just in a different way, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like that's also good because even though you're a huge creator like that, you're still able to make content where you're basically responding to a single comment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure at your channel size, it's hard to respond and keep track of half your comments, you know?
Bro, I used to respond to every single comment I got up until I had 40,000 subscribers, and I was like spending like an hour or two each day just like going through every single comment, responding to them. And it was at that point too. It was also like that was like the negative comments, the positive ones. And you know how the negative comments hit you way harder than the positive ones. So like my mental health it got so much better, so much better after I just stopped responding to every single comment. I still try to respond to as many as I can, but like engaging with your audience it's a good way to keep your audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it also kind of like how we're talking about like authenticity being a big thing for like content in general. It almost plays into like the authentic trope of you being able to do that, because a creator of any size just responding to a singular comment like that, still creating that personal connection at a small level that's impossible otherwise with that channel without ignoring the 99% of the other comments by not responding to them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, like, I feel like too, like I do the beat review streams once a month. They drain the hell out of me, but they're a really good way for me to just directly engage with my audience, and also just like take it away from okay, listen to my beat and kind of flip it on its head and be like, let me listen to your beat, and you know, like let's change roles for a second, you know?
Yeah, that probably helps keep things fresh, being able to step away from you making music and just take some time to just listen to music as a listener again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got a fun question here. Let's say you woke up tomorrow and Riley Beats, everything on all platforms, everything, your whole online presence is gone, but you have all the same knowledge about producing, being a content creator in general. You know everything you know about making content, selling kits, selling beats, whatever it is. What are you going to be doing to go to becoming a full-time professional producer with that knowledge? Like, what's your game plan?
I think this is probably like one thing that I didn't think about when I started, because like I said, like I just started off of a whim. It wasn't intentional. I definitely would sit down and like actually make a plan of where I want to go, what I want my content to be, because like if you don't do that, you run into roadblocks along the way of like, okay, I've been doing this and this worked for this reason, but it's not translating for where I want to go to. And I think like a good example of that would be I do those beat fix videos. It doesn't really translate to where I want to go to, but my audience fucking loves those videos. Like they eat that shit up. I don't blame them. It's a great thing. Like it engages with them. It's a chance for them to get like some shine and all that good stuff. But it's not necessarily something that directly aligns with what I'm trying to do. So like planning out myself more is kind of where I would start. But I do think like I would start out a little bit more. If I don't know how to word that, but I would have started out like with higher quality content, you know?
So you think being a content creator would be the most lucrative thing to get back into, or the best way?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like if you it doesn't necessarily have to be content creator. I just think that's probably the fastest way to build up some form of platform. But like if you think about it, Metro Boomin, right? The reason he's able to release these albums that do so wildly successful is because he's built up a platform through years of audience repertoire. People have heard the Metro Boomin tags for so long that they know who he is. So he has the platform that he can release that on. So I think content creation is probably one of the easiest and fastest ways to build up that platform or build up some kind of platform. And having a platform is really what turns into lucrative. You know what I mean? Like that's where you can start looking at, okay, what do I want to do outside of just this,
Yeah, makes sense. No, I agree with you. I think like making social media content nowadays is still probably the biggest bang for your buck to get like not fast and easy, but the fastest and easiest possible exposure as a
Yeah.
producer to get just eyes on you.
I won't lie. Like it doesn't have to be videos. It could even be those terrible Instagram posts where it's just like spreading shitty advice, like mixing advice. Yeah, I know you've seen those for sure. Like the producer Instagram post where it's like, oh, you need to pan your hi-hat all the way left and your snare has to be all the way right. And it's like, it's bullshit, but people still eat that up, and it's like you, with your content, I would hope that people would be responsible, but it's like things like that highlight how easy it is to gain a platform based on whatever kind of content you make. You know what I mean? Like that content doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't even have to be factual for it, but it still has that reach. It still has that impact on people clearly.
Yeah, and I think that opportunity is like as good as it's ever going to be nowadays with the different platforms, whether it's YouTube Shorts or YouTube in general or TikTok or Instagram Reels. Like the amount of exposure you can get for free through organic content is probably at an all-time high, it seems, nowadays, or at least the knowledge that that's possible, versus, social media 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, like a lot of the short form algorithms, what they do is they push the video to like a sample size audience of like, I don't know, TikTok uses like roughly 200 people. So it gets pushed to like a sample size audience. If it doesn't do well, it doesn't get pushed anymore. If it does well, it keeps getting pushed. But even if it's not getting pushed anymore, even if it doesn't do well, your content still got 200 views. Most people who upload a type beat get like 50 max.
Yeah. So that's already just a bigger number. It's almost like a lottery, you have more lottery tickets. The chances of you hitting that jackpot just are up ever so slightly,
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Another thing, what we talked about earlier kind of reminded me of, have you seen Halfway from Split Mind's YouTube channel?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he's the dude who runs Split Mind. He's been making YouTube videos lately, and he was kind of been talking about like how he was building or helping like producers like Benny X or Steven Schaefer like kind of come up. And he said something that put it in a way that I really liked. He was like, he would tell them like, you're dope as fuck as a producer, just the world doesn't know yet. The world doesn't know how dope you are. So when you frame it in that way, if you choose to spread yourself through content, which literally everything is, like even just posting a fit pic on Instagram is technically content, but the way that you choose to portray yourself to the world so that they can kind of just get hip to how dope you are is kind of just how you move the needle forward for you. And I feel like that approach to it was really refreshing because it kind of takes a step back versus like the nitty gritty of making videos, because then you just stop thinking about what you realize is just a trivial bullshit of like keywords, SEO, video formats, all this stuff that is important, but ultimately isn't going to be the make or break in your success as a producer, because it just breaks down to the question or just the problem of you're dope. We got to get more eyes on you,
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like your strategy as a content creator, as a producer, has, whether you knew it or not, kind of followed that same idea, because I feel like you just putting yourself out there for so long and just showing, because you kind of turned yourself into the melody guy through your content, which is better than what I feel like people used to know you for, the guy that sounds like he woke up depressed as fuck in the morning. That's like, you couldn't escape those comments, but I feel like
No.
just your path as a creator, you basically subconsciously took that advice in a way. What do you think about that?
Well, I think first I want to address the voice thing. Like, I feel like I've gone through such a journey with my voice in terms of content creation. Cause like I went through the whole like, here's how I made this beat, like super deep, whatever. And I went through the phase of like, okay, like let me pick up the energy, like I've been sounding dead in every video, so let me sound super alive. So it was like a complete 180 opposite. It wasn't natural, you know what I mean? And I feel like I've found my footing with a natural voice, natural tone, and everything a little bit more now. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying, like keeping it natural. You know what I mean? Like that's been more successful for me for sure. It's also just better for you as the creator too. What was the question again?
No, I mean, it was just a very broad thing, but that kind of led me to think like being so authentic and natural. It kind of plays into the question, but it kind of sounds like you had to discover how to be authentically you online. Like, is that like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that kind of goes back into what you're saying of like, you're a dope producer. You got to get the eyes on you though. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can be a dope producer, dope person, whatever. You can present it in any way. Like at the core, like the content was getting the eyes, but I wasn't being myself, you know what I mean, necessarily. So it wasn't getting that same kind of response, I guess, or same kind of respect, or essentially the same kind of look, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I know since I've been making videos since last year for like heat and everything. I know that can be really unnatural and uncomfortable. And I'm sure like a lot of other people listening that are making content in one way or the other, whether it's they're making full YouTube videos or even just pulling their phone out and just like recording themselves talking, like that's not a thing that comes naturally to most people. So do you think like you were able to get good at that just through numbers, or is there other things you did to kind of help develop that character development in a way?
Well, I think one thing, like it kind of goes back to what I said about just kind of having fun with it, kind of doing it for myself. So like I'll be recording shorts, I'll be recording videos, and I'll just like I don't know, like something I naturally do is I just make like random sounds sometimes. Not a lot of people know that. Like I'll just be walking around my apartment, I'll be like, yo, plug, you know what I mean? Like just random stupid bullshit. And I told
Like
Faded,
a
I was like,
Pokemon?
hey, like, yeah, exactly. Giant Pokemon, basically. I told Faded, I was like, hey, let's sprinkle in some of these moments or whatever into videos just to give them that little bit of personality that I feel like they're missing. And I feel like that has been a way to kind of like open up myself a bit more, because it's like people aren't leaving hate comments for me saying, I don't know, random shit or whatever. So it's just like it's slowly opened me up a bit, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of hate comments, I don't think you deal with like too much negativity, but like I know sometimes the community that comes with being a producer or just a content creator in general can get pretty toxic. And, that on top of reading comments and all the other things that can fuck with your mental health, how do you keep that shit in check so it doesn't derail you and fuck up your 2-year posting cycle? Because that's kind of a feat in itself. You need another fucking plaque for that in the background.
I feel like I'm a petty person. Like, not like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a direct confrontation kind of petty. I take like little pleasure though, like taking little jabs back if I can. And one thing that I do is like, for example, I get a lot of comments being like, "Oh no, generic trap drums, you're not a real producer." So in like the next video I posted, I just threw like generic punk drums on top of it. You know what I mean? Or it's like, I don't know, like I make like a trap beat. I get like a ton of comments being like, "You're not a real producer, trap beats suck," or some shit like that. And then, mind you, they're usually way more detailed. Like people like to write fucking paragraphs. But then like the next beat, like I'll do like breakcore or something different. And I'll be like, "Oh, this is the easiest genre to make," you know? And it's just like, it's that, like, that's like a little small thing I just do for myself. Biggest tip. This is like a life hack. YouTube has this section where they put like the most monstrous hate comments imaginable. They hide them from you. They don't show you them. Like, they're that bad. Don't look in there. You know what I mean? Like, I used to look in there every day. I used to see those comments. There were people wishing death upon me and stuff. There probably still are, but I don't know about it. That's my advice. Like, just don't engage with it at all. Like, no matter what kind of hate comment there are, don't engage with it. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. If you really want to, you can playfully play with it, but don't stress over it. Don't spend time. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like every content creator gets told one way or the other, like, just don't read the comments.
Yeah. Well, this is what makes it difficult to respond to every comment too, you know? It's like, how do I respond to someone saying, "Fuck you, you should die," or something like that? You know, like, it's, thanks. Next.
Right. That's the best way to respond.
Yeah.
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So let's talk monetization. We already know, like, you have 140 something subscribers on your channel, and everybody knows you can make good money as a content creator, but it's like no one knows like the specifics of like how is that money made, because I feel like creators make money in so many different ways. Like, it varies heavily between the creator, between the niche and all that. What have you found to be the best ways that you've been able to monetize your platform, and how does that change as you grow your channel too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it boils down really, really interestingly. It's more so like, think about it like a product, right? You're gonna make the most money selling your own product, but then what makes like the second most money? Sponsorships, where you're promoting someone else's product. And then what makes the least amount of money? Google Ads, where YouTube is promoting a product on top of your content. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a pyramid, I guess. You know what I mean? And at the top is the selling of a product, and just as it keeps going down is the marketing of that product, just at different stages or different levels. So you're going to obviously make the most money selling your own product. If there are people reaching out to you trying to have you promote a product, that's because they believe there is some money to be made with you promoting that product. So what's stopping you from promoting your own product in that same way and making money at it and not having to pay someone to market it?
Yeah, that's very true. That's kind of, a lot of YouTubers get rich and make a good amount of money off AdSense. But like the producers or not producers, but just YouTubers in general, and producers too, that make the most money doing content are the ones pushing their own product, because, we sell kits. You sell kits on your channel. We have a different relationship where it's like I'm heavily involved in that, even though I don't make the kits at all. But as far as helping you market and sell them, I am. Say you make a product and you push that and it's like perfect match for your audience. Like, you're keeping 100%. There's no revenue split with a company that's paying you, or there's no deal where they only paid you $200, but it made them $10,000 or something like that,
Well, I think like I don't think people should necessarily discount the other areas if they're looking to make money. Because like there's a lot of money to be made through sponsorships or affiliate marketing. Like, I know I did an affiliate marketing like about a year or two ago, and I think I made about like $2,000 or $1,000 off of it, off of like one video, and at the same time the AdSense on that video was like $20. So it's like, these things add up. Mind you, if I made the same, like, I've made more money selling a single kit, but it's like altogether I've made a bunch of money. That just sounds like I'm trying to flex. That's not what I'm saying.
No, yeah. But having that diverse revenue is big, because I mean, you know
Yeah.
personally that kits is up and down, like very, it
Yeah.
fluctuates heavily, just like selling beats. I mean, just selling any kind of product, So just you still having that ability to like do affiliate stuff or take on sponsorships for videos, like having that is gonna make you way more flexible as a professional creator versus
Yeah.
being like tied to a singular thing that isn't within your control. That's when things get risky.
Yeah, and I think like this is just something like I like to keep in mind, but I really feel that I guess this is my commentation on the creator sphere right now, but I feel like creators should do their best to be responsible with their sponsorships. I hope they understand that the audience, not 100% of them, but a good chunk of them will see that too. And it's like, yeah, maybe you'll make that short-term buck, but long-term you're losing out. And that's kind of what you want because like you said, selling products, sponsorships, all these things, it's come and go. Like some months maybe you'll have like 8 sponsorships, so you'll sell all your kits a million times, whatever. Next month you might have nothing. You know what I mean? So you don't want to just sell out for a quick buck.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. So you lean more on the delayed gratification when it comes to making money with your platform and as a producer versus chasing those fast, easier, but reputation compromising opportunities, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I know you know this probably, but whenever I get like a sponsorship that like I'm even considering, I always ask Faded, like, hey, what do you guys know or think about this product? And then like I've turned down deals because you've told me like, oh, this company did this in the past and it was kind of scummy or scammy. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
sweet. I'm not gonna do business with them then, like, because that just wouldn't make sense for me.
Oh, no, that's a good attitude to have. I wish like a lot more creators, cause I feel like a lot of creators do the complete opposite, maliciously for that short term money, for that fast gain, fast come up, and I feel like that's what leads to like a lot of negative stigma around, or just a lot of negativity in the producer space to begin with, because there's so much marketing and stuff that's targeting new producers specifically for
Yeah,
malicious reasons.
that's the
Because
most vulnerable demographic.
yeah, they're the most vulnerable. They're the most eager. They're the most hungry, and
Yeah, and they don't know any better either.
yeah, they don't know better too. And it's the easiest to tap into that emotional level to
Mhm.
sell a recycled drum kit or sell something that they don't necessarily need to buy, something that they're going to use and realize, oh, okay, this isn't really doing much. That's going to harm your reputation if you're the one pushing that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I know you have experience paying other producers for things, and I know based on those experiences, you would never pay that same person anything ever again. You know what I mean? I was fortunate and unfortunate in this. Like the very first VST I ever bought was Nexus. I saw all these videos hyping up Nexus, telling me it was like the best thing you needed for making beats. Yo, I downloaded it. It was ass. I hate Nexus. Worst VST. I guess it was an expensive lesson, but the lesson was to take other people's opinions a little bit more with a grain of salt. Because, it's subjective what people think is good. Obviously, like the scummy products goes a lot deeper than just overpriced mediocre VSTs.
Yeah, definitely. Another example of like that reputation thing, like, Bass Gutter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was big years ago and then dropped off the face of the earth for years. And usually when a creator does that, that's basically career suicide, because that's like the worst thing you can do algorithmically.
Yeah.
But he started making content again regularly and people are like tapped in like it's 2018, And I feel like that wouldn't have happened if his reputation was tarnished from some bullshit back then,
Yeah, well, he had and this is why reputation is important because he had a really good reputation, like not just from like his sound design stuff. Because I think it was like what All Girls Are the Same was like some of his Electra X presets or something like that. So he had like that good reputation, kind of carrying like forward, being like, yeah, this guy's still a great producer. Look at the sounds he's made. You know what I mean? So like that reputation, I guess I just keep repeating reputation, but like that reputation cemented him in a way that lasted longer than just how often he was posting content.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk about selling kits. I already know anything I ask you, I kind of probably already know because, we co-own the same website. in a way, you know? But I mean, I just want to hear like you as a creator, like what your mindset is when it comes to, okay, I want to create a new product for sale. Like what goes into thinking like, okay, I want it to be this and that. And then how do you go about to integrate that naturally into your content? You've been able to have a good reputation to sell your own products and do pretty good with them. So like, I just want to hear the mindset that goes into developing it to be like that.
Yeah, I think I used to definitely do that like much bigger kind of push. Like I would slap like a whole graphic on the screen, the video would stop playing and there'd basically be an ad. And that obviously, like as you know, that was not successful. That wasn't working. People were not happy with that. So kind of my mindset, and this has always been my mindset with making kits, is just making a kit that I would actually be stoked to use. And fortunately we've been able to do that multiple times now. But that has kind of created this capability where I don't have to tell you to go buy my drum kit. I just have to make a beat with the drum kit I already like. That's kind of the way to make it natural. And that's also the way to find a product that will actually sell, is like, do you like the product? Because if you don't even like your own product, how is anybody else going to like it?
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a big part of why the kits are successful, because, you know, they are unique. They play into all that. And I think there is kind of like an unspoken issue like in the producer space. I wouldn't call it an issue necessarily, but just something that I've been noticing for years, just being a producer. And that is, you know, just the recycling of drum kits shamelessly for years, you know? And it's just crazy to see, because I remember, you know, first getting into kits as a newer producer, and it's like, oh, like I have no idea what the iconic kits are. I have no idea what the go-to drum sounds or whatever. And even back then, the same recycled kits that you find nowadays getting pushed on Reddit or whatever, it's the same thing from back then. You know, I know you don't like recycled drum kits. You're definitely not going to be selling them to your audience. So it's like, how do you kind of break that mold when that's kind of like the status quo in the space in a way sometimes?
I feel like I have to address this pretty often, because most people, like you said, there is an issue in the producer community. Most people assume that the drum kit is going to be recycled sounds. So like kind of overcoming that is pretty simple. Like actually just make the sounds not be recycled, but showing
Crazy.
that in a different way. It's like, yeah, you kind of come across as like a pick me if you go, hey guys, buy my new non-recycled drum kit. So it's more so just like, you need to create sounds that people haven't really heard in that same way, you know, like create a sound that's a little bit unique from what's out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What sound design tricks have you kind of found yourself going to be able to create kits of that scale, you know, or of that caliber, I mean?
Yeah, so like one thing that I like to do is like, let's say like I'll just load in like a generic like drum pattern of some kind, like, you know, the basic like typical trap 808 kind of pattern. I'll just like throw that down, and I'll be making the sound just while that pattern's playing. And it's like you want, like if I'm making something already structured like a generic trap beat, the sound is going to come out a little bit like a generic trap sound. And of course I have the control over it, so I can switch that up and make it sound different or unique in whatever way. But at its core, it's still got that generic trap vibe, I guess.
Damn, that's some sauce. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, that's what I do with, like, this is my favorite thing, but like with melody presets, because it's like, okay, if I want to make a guitar, I will like throw in a guitar MIDI.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm making it because it's like, okay, how do I want the guitar to sound, you know?
Yeah. I'll do that when I'm like sound designing instruments and stuff like that, but I haven't tried that for drums yet. So that's an interesting way to think of making them. Makes complete sense when I say that out loud. I got another interesting question for you, and that is, knowing what you know about like the content world as a producer and just content creation in general, what do you anticipate to change in like that current landscape? You know, like let's just narrow it down. Like what changes do you anticipate like to becoming like in the producer content niche? And are you like doing anything to kind of prepare for that, or figure out like how your content's going to evolve with it? Or is that even something you're thinking about to begin with?
I think one big thing that's happening behind the scenes that viewers aren't really familiar with this or aware of this, but YouTube and a lot of other content platforms, they're really doubling down on the features they have, or just implementing way more. Like YouTube, they've got tons of plans for like AI features. They're finally letting people do A/B testing on videos, like video titles and thumbnails. So it's like they're providing you with more tools to be successful, so that barrier of success is kind of significantly thinner. You don't have to buy like vidIQ or TubeBuddy or anything stupid like that to get that same kind of analytical information anymore. Like that's one thing that I think is going to change, maybe not right away, because I feel like people underestimate the analytics. But I think one thing that the producer community is seeing a lot more of is that more personal content. Like it's shifting away from how to make a Southside type beat to I made a beat with Southside. You know what I mean? It's shifting, and I know it's not easy for everyone to just get Southside on a video, but even if it's just like, oh, I made a beat with my girlfriend, or I made a beat with my dad, you know what I mean? It's way more interesting than how to make a dad type beat or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Storytelling is being more prevalent in YouTube in general, and obviously that's gonna fit in perfectly with producer content. Like I feel like that's why, partially why, like Kyle Beats is so big, is as big as he is, you know, because he makes like producer content, but in a format that's more similar to a standard YouTuber, like a vlogger or some shit like that. But it doesn't feel fake or anything like that. It still feels like producer content.
Well, I think like at that point you branch out so much more than just producers, because there's only so many producers in the world. But when you create a story, everyone likes stories. When you tell the story, everyone likes to listen to it, and if you tell it in an engaging way, it will keep people listening to it. And I think like we have to give Kyle Beats his flowers. No matter how many clicks it takes, we got to give him his flowers. And his flowers are that he creates these stories. He creates this content that really, in my opinion, bridges the gap between production, like music production, and people who don't do it at all. Because it's really easy to click on one of his videos and kind of just get engaged in the story that he's creating, or the narrative he's telling there.
That's definitely where he shines through in that space, like his ability to be able to create videos like that. And I think he's talked about it before, where it's like he wanted to be a YouTuber in that way. So it just makes sense that he was able to kind of finesse like his content to merge producing and regular like status quo YouTube stuff and be able to blend it together the way that he did, which I think like every content creator can learn from that, you know?
Yeah, I think too, like if your content engages non-producers, it creates this atmosphere where they want to become producers as well. Cause you know, like they're engaged in that story and they're like, okay, I want to have a similar experience. This is really cool. Even just like with stupid tutorial content in short form, that same thing kind of happens, probably to like a different scale. But when that kind of happens, as we talked about, like new producers, they're the most vulnerable, they're the most eager, the most excited, they're ready to buy whatever they think they need. So at that point, I bet you it's really easy for Kyle Beats to say, hey, you've watched nothing but my content about making beats. I also sell this plugin, you know? So it creates that kind of this situation where new producers are familiar with that person's content, so they already have that trusting relationship.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a really good way to like see everything and see like kind of like that relationship between the content creator and their audience kind of like mapped out.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, I think we definitely touched on a lot of cool things and spilled some sauce. Now, I appreciate you for taking the time out and doing this today.
No worries, man.
Yeah, before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you, what is your advice to all the producers out there trying to make it? Like, what words do you have for them?
I would say honestly, like put in work. I've been a big proponent of this my whole life. Just for like some background information, I used to play football. I was getting recruited to play at a Division One. It was like I'll say I was getting recruited to like go to Cornell for football. I was like in a highly advanced academic program, and all this is just because of my ability to work hard. And after football, like obviously I had to find my way a little bit, but I ended up finding my way in production, and I carried that same hard work mentality forward. Clearly it's had success for me, and I would say like if you want to get shit done, you need to work hard.
Yeah, that's the best way you can put it, as blunt as that. I feel like your work ethic can definitely be seen. Like, look at the amount of videos you post on your channel and how consistent you've been over the years, and it makes complete sense that you have 140 something subscribers after all that hard work.
Thank you, I appreciate that.